Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the channel, and I'm here for a list video for you guys. So for this list, I'll be going over 10 underrated songs from the band Genesis. Genesis, I think, are a really great band. They are probably my second favorite progressive rock band in the genre. Yeah, I really do like this band a lot. I think all eras of the band do have something to offer, both the Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins era. Even the one album with Ray on vocals, I think, has some solid stuff. But yeah, really great band. Now, it was rather difficult choosing just 10 underrated songs from Genesis, but I think I do have a pretty solid list here. Now, some fans might make a debate on whether or not some of these songs are underrated. Some people might say, oh, what? That's one of my favorites from this album. How is this song underrated or whatever? There's going to be debates like that, but I'm talking just in general. Just generally speaking, I think some of these songs are underrated, even though they might be considered fan favorites to some, especially with one of the songs on this list. But yeah, this list is in no particular order, and keep in mind, this is not a top 10 necessarily. These are just 10 songs that I randomly chose from Genesis that I find to be kind of underrated, so let's go ahead and get started. First song up is Silver Rainbow from the self-titled album. Maybe the most underrated song from the self-titled album, and it's actually one of my favorites from the second half of this album. Usually when people talk about the self-titled album, they mainly give attention to songs to Mama, Home by the Sea, and That's All. But yeah, Silver Rainbow, pretty underrated song from this album. I think it's a good one. Next, we got Timetable from the Foxtrot album. Foxtrot is maybe my favorite Genesis album. If not, it's my second favorite. I don't know. But Timetable, not a super heavy song. It's more piano driven, but I think everything it does, it does it very well. And usually when people talk about the Foxtrot album, they mainly give attention to songs like Watcher of the Skies or Supper's Ready, which are great songs, and I even go as far to say that those are some of their best songs. But this song in particular, Timetable, I think it's very good, and I think it deserves a little more attention. Maybe not one of their best songs or anything, but I do think it's a good song for what it is. So next we got Shipwrecked from their last album, Calling All Stations, the one album with Ray on vocals. Now, I am one of the few people that will defend some of the songs from this album. I really don't think this album is as bad as many fans say. It sounds of its time, and I think that's actually one of the things that I like about it, because I was born in the late 90s, and I think I just am kind of just drawn to this sort of sound that they're going for here. It's not one of their best albums, it's definitely not, but I still don't think it's as bad as many fans say. But yeah, this song, I think it's pretty good, and it's actually one of my favorites from Calling All Stations. It is more accessible, more mainstream. Now, I have this song on this list because, well, if anyone ever does talk about the Calling All Stations album, they're going to mention songs like the first two songs, the title track and Congo, which are still probably the best songs on the album, but this song I think is also pretty good. So yeah, Shipwrecked, not bad, kind of underrated in my opinion. So next we got Madman Moon from the Trick of the Tail album. Maybe one of my favorite Genesis songs, to be honest. I don't know, it's definitely up there for me. I really love everything about this song. It's not a super heavy track, but I just really dig it for some reason. It is more piano driven. This is, of course, the first album with Phil Collins on vocals, and his vocal performance in this track, spot on, excellent. And A Trick of the Tail might be my favorite Genesis album. This album or Foxtrot is either my favorites. I don't know, these two honestly fight for number one for me, but I just know that these two would be my favorite albums from Genesis. But yeah, Madman Moon, if you have not listened to this song in a while, definitely go back and listen to it. I think it's a really great track. So next we got Afterglow. Now this is where we get into the part of the ranking where I guess it becomes debatable on whether or not this song is underrated. because when it comes to the Wind and Wuthering album, I do see that many fans say that this is one of their favorites from that album. But even so, I still think that this song deserves a little more attention from fans. It's one of my favorites from the album, and yeah, some might even argue it's one of the best Genesis songs of their 70s work. But yeah, the Wind and Wuthering album as a whole, it doesn't get a whole lot of attention, I've noticed, but yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons why this song doesn't, get a whole lot of attention itself. But all in all, I think it's a great track. And if you haven't listened to this one in a while, definitely go back and revisit it. Next, we got The Return of the Giant Hogweed from Nursery Crime. Legendary album. Obviously a fan favorite Genesis album. Of course, this is one of the classic albums with Peter Gabriel. Great album. Now, when people talk about the Nursery Crime album, they mostly give attention to the song Musical Box, which is an excellent song, but I think this song also deserves some attention. The Return of the Giant Hogweed. I think everything it does very well. One of the longer tracks from the album. I think it's solid all around. So next we got Robbery, Assault, and Battery from Trick of the Tail, of course. Yeah, really good song, I think. More accessible sounding. Not super complex or anything, but I think it's pretty good for what it is. And really, you can't go wrong with anything from the Trick of the Tail album, in my opinion. Next, we got Burning Rope from And Then There Were Three. Now, this song is a little more accessible, but it's a pretty solid track, I think. Now, one thing I really do like about the And Then There Were Three album is they combine the proggy side of the band in with the more poppy side of the band. You can tell in this part of Genesis's career, they're starting to change their sound a little bit, becoming a little more radio-friendly, a little more accessible, and a lot of these songs show that. But are these songs bad? No, I don't think so. This is a pretty good song. Usually when people talk about the And Then There Were Three album, they mainly give attention to songs like Follow You, Follow Me, and Many Too Many, just to name a couple. Yeah, don't really see many people talk about this song, Burning Rope. I think it's pretty good, actually. It's a pretty good track. Same with the next song, which is also from And Then There Were Three, Undertow. Probably one of my favorites from the album as well, especially from the first half of this album. Really great song that's also kind of accessible. I find the melodies pretty intriguing, and even though this is a point in their career where they're starting to become a little more accessible, they still haven't really lost what made the band who they were, because even for the time being, they still sounded like Genesis. But yeah, Undertow, I think, is a really great song. So lastly, for this list, I'm going to have to go with The Dividing Line from the last album, Calling All Stations. Probably the best song on the second half of the album. It's pretty heavy. One of the more complex songs on the album. I dig the synth work as well. I think it's pretty good, so yeah. Again, not a song that gets a lot of attention from the Calling All Stations album, but there you have it. That's a list of 10 underrated Genesis songs. This is, of course, just based on my opinion, of course. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Do you like any of these songs? Would you agree that any of these songs are underrated? Feel free to let me know. And also let me know, did I miss any? Are there any Genesis songs that you find to be underrated that are not on this list? Feel free to let me know. So, on that note, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.